It's 3 in the morning. You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling while your brain runs disaster simulations on repeat. What if the car dies tomorrow? What if your laptop crashes? What if your job cuts hours? What if a medical bill lands in your inbox without warning? Your chest tightens, your heart rate climbs, and sleep quietly leaves the room. If this feels familiar, you're not broken. You're human. And here's the part most people never hear. There is a specific financial threshold that shuts down this mental chaos for millions of people. It isn't $1 million. It isn't even 100,000. It's $10,000. Most people assume money milestones are arbitrary numbers invented by rich people to flex. But behavioral finance and neuroscience tell a different story. Certain thresholds create real psychological shifts, and $10,000 is the first one that meaningfully changes how your brain operates. Before we talk about what changes when you reach it, let's be honest about life without it. Living paycheck to paycheck is not just a budgeting problem, it's a permanent defensive posture. At the grocery store, you calculate cereal brands. When friends invite you out, you scan your balance before answering. When something breaks, your stomach drops before you even know the price. You're not planning your future, you're reacting to your present. And that survival mode physically changes how your brain functions. Research from Princeton and Harvard on financial scarcity shows that active money stress reduces cognitive performance by roughly 13 IQ points. That's comparable to being sleep-deprived, except you don't recover it with rest. You carry that mental tax into every decision. You don't feel less intelligent. You feel tired, distracted, overwhelmed, impatient. But your decision quality quietly declines. This creates a feedback loop that traps people. Stress lowers decision quality. Poor decisions increase financial pressure. More pressure creates more stress. From the outside, society labels this irresponsibility. In reality, it's neurological overload. I felt this myself sitting in a cafe trying to work on something that could have moved my career forward. 90 minutes passed and nothing meaningful happened. Not because I was lazy, because part of my brain kept running background calculations. Rent due in 9 days. Account balance shrinking. Paycheck not here yet. The human brain is not designed to build long-term plans while monitoring survival threats. That's where $10,000 becomes powerful. It doesn't make you rich, it changes your operating system. When that buffer exists, your relationship with risk changes immediately. Without savings, every decision feels dangerous. Asking for a raise feels risky. Taking a course feels irresponsible. Switching jobs feels terrifying. But when $10,000 sits quietly in your account, those same decisions become manageable. You don't become reckless, you become strategic. There's also a biological shift. Financial stability lowers cortisol, your body's main stress hormone. Lower cortisol improves sleep, focus, emotional regulation, and patience. That's not motivation talk, that's physiology. It's why a check engine light feels like catastrophe when you're broke, and like annoyance when you have savings. That emotional shift compounds. When panic fades, productivity rises. You stop procrastinating. You communicate better. You become more patient with people around you. Money stress leaks into every area of life, and removing it unlocks mental bandwidth you forgot existed. Here's the surprising part. Most people who save $10,000 rarely spend it on emergencies. What actually changes is access to opportunity. This is what economists call optionality. When the buffer exists, people invest in certifications. They relocate closer to better jobs. They start side businesses. They negotiate harder. They walk away from bad deals. Confidence rises not because they feel wealthy, but because desperation disappears. That confidence has downstream effects. You show up differently in interviews. You ask smarter questions. You negotiate compensation instead of accepting the first offer. Over time, this behavioral shift alone can generate income gains far larger than the original $10,000. Now let's address the biggest mental block. $10,000 sounds impossible if you're struggling to save $100, but the hardest part isn't math, it's identity. Most people fail because they treat saving like a temporary diet. Extreme restriction, short bursts of motivation, burnout. The people who succeed don't think of saving as sacrifice. They think of it as becoming a different type of person, someone who builds margin. Once that identity shift happens, behavior becomes automatic. You notice waste you ignored before. You optimize bills. You search for extra income streams. You stop impulse spending because it no longer fits who you believe you are. Momentum helps too. The first $1,000 is brutal. It requires real behavior change. The second 1,000 feels easier. The third becomes routine. By the time you approach 10,000, systems already exist. There is also a mathematical reason this number matters. $10,000 covers the majority of real-world financial disruptions. According to consumer data in 2025, most car repairs fall between $500 and $3,000. Most urgent medical copays and emergency visits remain below that range. Job transitions typically require 3 to 6 months of runway, which 10,000 often provides depending on lifestyle. That means after this milestone, you are protected from most events that keep people trapped in financial chaos. And context matters even more in today's economy. In 2025 and early 2026, average credit card interest rates remained above 20%. According to Federal Reserve data, over 1/3 of American adults still cannot cover a $400 emergency expense with cash. At the same time, layoffs in tech, media, and service sectors have increased job volatility. This means buffer matters more now than it did 5 years ago. But the deeper transformation is psychological. Before savings, money feels fragile and finite. Every dollar spent feels permanently gone. After savings, money becomes leverage. You start thinking about investing, compounding, income growth, and asset building. Not because you suddenly became financially brilliant, but because survival pressure finally lifted. Here's something counterintuitive. A person with 10,000 saved and average income is often closer to financial independence than someone earning twice as much with zero savings. Why? Because wealth building is not about earning first. It's about retention behavior. You cannot compound what you leak. Many high-income earners live broke because lifestyle inflation absorbs everything. Meanwhile, moderate earners who control spending quietly build stability. Saving 10,000 teaches discipline, patience, delayed gratification, and long-term thinking. Those traits matter more than income spikes. Let's talk about practical impact. $10,000 turns disasters into inconveniences. Car problems become scheduling annoyances. Medical bills become manageable. Job loss becomes survivable. Instead of accepting the first desperate offer, you can choose better opportunities. Opportunity creation matters even more. That certification costing $2,000 that raises your salary by $10,000 per year becomes possible. Relocation that improves long-term earnings becomes realistic. Small business investment becomes an option. Options change lives. There are health benefits too. Studies in 2024 and 2025 consistently show that people with emergency savings report better sleep quality and lower anxiety. Money stress is one of the top contributors to insomnia and relationship conflict. When stress drops, relationships improve. You become less irritable, more present, and emotionally available. Confidence compounds socially as well. You stop avoiding situations due to money shame. You participate instead of hiding. Networks grow. Opportunities expand. Now let's be realistic. $10,000 does not make you rich. You will not quit your job and move to a beach. You will still think twice about large purchases, but it gives you breathing room. And breathing room is the foundation of every smart financial decision. When you're not gasping for financial air, you notice optimization opportunities. You compare insurance plans. You switch phone providers. You cut subscriptions. You negotiate fees. These small wins stack into real momentum. There is another psychological effect most people miss. When you have no savings, every dollar feels dangerous to lose. When you have 10,000 saved, you become more willing to invest in growth opportunities. Networking events, skill training, productivity tools. That willingness often generates returns far larger than the cost. This is why career acceleration often follows savings milestones. Financial security does not create promotions directly. It enables the behavior that leads to them. Money also affects social behavior. When you're financially stressed, you withdraw. You avoid social events. You feel embarrassment. You develop resentment. Stability restores social freedom. So what does this really mean? Saving $10,000 does not change your life because of what you buy. It changes your life because of who you become while building it. You develop discipline, awareness, patience. strategic thinking, emotional control. These traits transfer into every area of life. If you are starting at zero, do not panic. You do not need to save it overnight. Start small, automate tiny contributions, build consistency, increase gradually, redirect convenience spending. Focus on habit formation, not speed. The person you become during this process is the real asset. Once that identity is built, future financial milestones become inevitable. $10,000 is not just a number, it is a psychological upgrade. It replaces panic with stability, reaction with strategy, survival with planning. And once that shift happens, everything else becomes possible. If this changed how you see money, comment 10K below so your future self can look back and remember when the shift started. If you want calm financial progress instead of hype and noise, subscribe and turn notifications on because the next videos will build on this foundation step by step. And before you leave, ask yourself one question. 1 year from today, do you want to still be running survival math at 3 in the morning? Or do you want to sleep knowing your buffer is working quietly in the background? Your future self is waiting for the version of you that starts today.